what has come to the forefront of their decision-making now is practically the only thing they can act on, which is hiring a new manager. The Mets have basically outlined a top 5 for their manager hunt right now. It's Buck Showalter, who many people are familiar with, Brad Ausmus, who managed recently with the Angels and Tigers, Joe Espada, bench coach for the Houston Astros, and Matt Quatraro, bench coach for the Rays. Do these names do anything for you? Do you get any inspiration, any tingly feelings from any of these names?
I'm not sure how I feel about Brad Ausmus. I don't know him personally. Him getting fired after 1 year, that might be an Artie Moreno, Billy Epler kind of argument going on behind the scenes kind of thing. I really like Buck Showalter from my personal interactions with him. I like a baseball mind like that. And then Adam Jones, you mentioned it on our notes, but his ringing endorsement from a guy of Adam Jones's caliber to say he makes them better. I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys to be challenged, to be held accountable, and to make you better every day. And if Buck Showalter is that guy, I'm all for it, man, because this is the team moving forward that needs to win a World Series. I think our 5-year plan has been accelerated, and we're looking for win now. And to get the best out of your players, you're going to need a really good manager. And
yeah, I definitely get that there are reasons to endorse the Buck hire. One being the endorsements from Adam Jones, and last night Terry Collins just rang his endorsement on SNY. 2, Buck has managed in New York before. He was the Yankees manager in the early 90s. Not a ton of success there. Obviously, that came with Joe Torre inheriting the reins there. But Buck, he's been around the block. 20 seasons as a manager, 4 different teams. He has a winning percentage of about .506. It got tanked in his last year in Baltimore, where they lost 115 games, so it should be a little bit better than that. But we've mentioned before that, managerial record, it's not really, reflective of the quality of a manager. You kind of have to go a little bit deeper than that. But if you want to go on accolades, he's a 3-time Manager of the Year winner, 2 first-place finishes, 1 in 99 with the D-backs, and then 1 in 2014 with the Orioles. In terms of his playoff record, he's 1 in 5 in playoff series. He's only won 1 time. That was with the Orioles. But he's got a lot of endorsements, a lot of the older generation and the guys that are a little bit more formed and they have credit in baseball. They've endorsed Buck Showalter because he's been around the game forever. And maybe this is just what the Mets need, because the Mets have hired back-to-back first-time managers, both of which ended unsuccessfully. So if you want to go that route that you went with Terry Collins, one of the proven older guys, there is an argument to be made there. But the thing with me is that I think that the Mets are trending towards an analytically driven style of managing. Now, that is a kind of a blanket phrase that you kind of can throw over anything, but the Mets have one of the largest analytical departments in baseball right now. We have a confirmed number of over 30. So they likely want to see a guy that is willing to embrace that. And that's the reason why the Astros bench coach, Joe Espada, and the Rays bench coach, Matt Quatraro, both appeal to me in that way, just because they are around 2 of the most advanced teams in terms of analytics. They've been around that team for, at least 3 years each. So you're poaching a guy from a very successful team, a perennial contender team. There are prospects there, but at the same time, there is a part of me that's I want a guy that's done it for a long time and can be stern and hold guys accountable and has grit to him. It's tough. I really like this list of 5 candidates. Ausmus is probably the one that, appeals to me the least of the bunch, just because he's kind of been unsuccessful in pretty much every year he's managed, except for his first year with the Tigers. Buck never got, that extra chance to try and make a run at a World Series or anything like that. So maybe, with one more chance, Buck might be better.
I think the names that we've mentioned all are positive. Mike Shilt's interesting to me in the sense that I don't know what he's going to do. The reportedly him being analytics, it seems strange to me for a guy to come up through the Cardinals the way that he did. He's a Snitker type, like a good soldier, do what the organization needs. And so I don't know if those rumors are true. And I like a guy that's loyal like that, especially to his players. They wanted him to sit somebody and he wouldn't do it because of so-and-so or whatever the case may be. I don't know what the story is, but I still like him. He captivated me in his post-game interviews, the way he stood his ground, the way he, stuck up for some of the glove stuff. I was like, man, that's a guy that I could go to battle with.
Yeah, it's easy to forget he just won manager of the year after getting fired. That's the second year in a row that's happened. 'Cause Rick Renteria with the White Sox, was either a finalist or he won, and then he got canned for Tony La Russa. So, I mean, there are guys out there that have recently won accolades for being a good manager and have gotten canned for it. It's very peculiar.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time for the Mets to be looking for a manager because there's nothing else going on. There's nothing else you literally can't do anything about personnel from a player's perspective because there's a lockout. If we could talk about the beginning of the offseason when we don't have a manager, we don't have a GM, we don't have any of these pieces have a GM, have some basically the majority of our roster set, and then to be in a search for a manager and coaching staff right now is a great time because there's nothing else going on. All these coaches are also going to be looking for jobs. It's super exciting, and they're in a very advantageous position, which is new for the Mets. So it's really good timing.
I feel like this is worth mentioning. The only other team that is in their manager hunt right now is your Oakland A's, and the Oakland A's are interviewing guys like Joe Espada and Matt Quatraro. They're looking at the same guys right now. So the Mets, as always, have competition for the guys that they want. So I don't know what direction the A's are going in, but if I'm a manager looking to get hired, I think I would much rather look at the New York job than the Oakland job right now because the Oakland job is going to be at least 3 seasons of losing, I would have to assume.
Yeah, I feel like the A's are no doubt are going to go for an analytical approach, somebody that they can be in the ear of the manager because it's the string and master of puppets kind of thing over there, which is, I think, what drove Bob Melvin out. And at the end was they're making grand sweeping changes. Bob Melvin wants to win a World Series, would love to have done it there. And they're like, look, we're not going to try. And that's a hard pill to swallow after years of putting in developmental work. And so the A's are definitely going to go for that young guy, I imagine. I don't see Buck Showalter going over there. And maybe a Brad Ausmus would, as a last gasp, take that as a job to kind of resurrect his status as a future manager. But for the most part, the A's are going to go young, and the Mets are going to have the prime targets for this because everybody wants to come into a situation where they're going to win or they should win. Expectations, if you want to win, this is definitely a roster and ownership group that is ready to do so. So it's a very, as weird as it was for the GM search, as you mentioned, where, we weren't sure, is like, what's wrong with the Mets? Why don't people want to take this job? Well, the manager's job is definitely going to be wanted. It's going to be highly sought after.